Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Jnanavarthini. The term hacking or hacker are typically associated with negative connotations, like gaining unauthorized access to systems or network. But as in the case of using a poison to create an antidote, ethical hacking uses the same process of hacking to assess the vulnerabilities of the systems. Today, we have Mr. Joshuva Premkumar with us, who will talk about this interesting profession of an ethical hacker and the ways and tools used in ethical hacking. Mr. Joshua is a quality evaluator by profession, but pursues his passion in cybersecurity and ethical hacking as a freelancer. Welcome, Mr. Joshua. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Manju. So team, thanks for this platform for me to present and showcase my skills. And before I proceed, I would like to tell how I came into this field, why I came into this field, and what are the layman's perspective of an ethical hacker. So let me take you back to an incident back in high school. So there was a time when Orkut was ruling the planet, before Facebook and everything. And at that particular point of time, I happened to have an account, and I sparingly used that account. I'm not much of a social media person. I don't post anything on social media or anything of that sort. But it happened that I was a victim of my password being stolen, and it brought my whole world down. I couldn't believe that something so personal from me could be taken away. And that's when I realized, and I tried to find out where did I go wrong, what did I do to have this secret code of mine being taken away. So it happened that I was using the school computers, and one of my colleagues, or I wouldn't call him a colleague, he was some a classmate of mine. He happened to source code the page of Orkut, copy paste it and then make a duplicate page. Today we know that term as phishing attack, something that you take a copy of a website and then you paste it. And it was a simple code, but I was an easy victim, and that incident led me to go into this field. Now, talking about the term ethical hacking, so there is not really any profession that we can term this with ethical hacking. Usually the term always goes as cyber security consultant, because nobody really employs someone to hack. A cybersecurity consultant is one who who comes and sees the security vulnerabilities, who sees what are the exploits, the loopholes in the system. So ethical hacking is more of a hobby than a profession. If you're looking at the professional aspect of it, then you are more of a cybersecurity consultant. Okay, that being said, let me just take you to the slides. Okay, now coming to this regular definition. So ethical hacking, it is someone who tries an authorized way or legal way of doing things, which otherwise done can be termed illegal. That is, you obtain prior permission to hack into something, to get into the system. And in real life, for that to happen, you need to have that trust. So the person who's employing you, or who's giving you that access, has that full trust in you that you are capable of finding the exploits, and you will not you know uh, make use of the data, or misuse the data found in their system. So it's more of a trust based relationship if you're looking at a professional ethical hacker. Now, coming to the term, types of ethical hackers, so it can be broadly classified into three types. That is a white hat hacker, a black hat hacker, and a gray hat hacker. And I think you guys may already know these terms: white hat, black hat, and gray hat. I'll just run you through the basics of it. So this is what we are looking at. A white hat hacker, that is a security consultant or a penetration tester. They use the same techniques as a black hat hacker, except that they get prior permission, or they do it legally. So they have the consent of the recruiter before they exploit anything, before they try any malicious software or anything of that sort. So when you talk about an ethical hacker, you're always talking about a white hat hacker. That is, they have everything documented, permission granted for them to exploit the system. Now, coming to the next one, black hat hacker. So this is something, a very fishy term, that a black hat hacker is anybody who, uses any software, any code, anything, and this particular person need not know any coding at all. He can be anyone who just uses some sort of virus to attack a system. And of course, as we find it that this person does not need any permission. He just sees an exploit, he sees a vulnerability in the system, and he uses it for his own gain. So that is a black hat hacker. Now, coming to the third part, there is a gray hat hacker. So this is a person who who is a hybrid between a black and a white hat. So this particular person does get permission, but there will always be restrictions when somebody recruits you as an ethical hacker. They will say, this is what you are supposed to access, and if you do find this data, you're supposed to keep it safe on of that sort. But a gray hat hacker is somebody who may not always follow the protocols. Yes, he may adhere to certain things just to get access, but sometimes he can misuse that. So this is a person who who appears to be legit but can do illegal things as well. So these are the three main terms that you classify hackers on. Okay, as we were talking about phishing attacks, so this is the attack which I was first a victim of, and a lot of people are prone to this type of attacks. Now, over the years, this has developed, and it has I would say taken its own course. I'm sorry, Suresh. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, team. Excuse me, team. May I continue?
Yeah, please.
So sorry, Manju. Sorry about that. Okay, as we were talking about phishing attacks, so this attack now, people have become more aware. So this has become, you know, uh, more sophisticated to execute this attack. People need a lot more things than just a normal HTML code. We need a server. We need, a place where we can post our pages, and we also need a very successful way to fool the victim. So this type of attack over the years has become more with involved with social engineering, and with tiny urls, and it's become more sophisticated over the years. But still, it is a very common type of attack, and for us to do this, it's quite simple. We just have to see the a page where people enter their login credentials, like the username and password. Just copy paste that source code and make it look just like the target system, and then we can successfully exploit this attack. uh, let's go on to the next. So I'm just going to be discussing a couple of tools and couple of exploits that we use in layman terms, or we can use initially as an ethical hacker. And also I'll be sharing some of the practices that I follow, and some of the practices that we need to adhere to, as if you're looking for ethical hacking as a profession, as a career. Okay, now we have this particular tool called Metasploit, which is a set of codes and a set of softwares that it is what do you say, released by this firm called Rapid7, and it contains predefined exploits, predefined vulnerability trackers, and predefined source codes which we can use to exploit a particular system. This is a very good beginner's tool to use, that we can scan a particular network, and we can also use it for harvesting email IDs. We can use it for a lot more things, and it comes predefined in Kali Linux. So Kali Linux is one software where you get a set of tools that we can use for different types of hacking. I'll just explain a few of them. This is just a screenshot of how it looks like Metasploit. All right. So what this basically does is it tests a particular system, a particular network, and sees what are the vulnerabilities of that system. And once it identifies that vulnerability, it'll, you can use the different softwares embedded in it to, exploit it. So one of the tools in that is MSF console. So in this, we can scan a particular server, and then we can see the vulnerability on it. Then we have to make a note of all the vulnerabilities, in that particular server. Then the next one is the exploit modules. Now, this particular code, it allows us to exploit the particular vulnerabilities that we have detected. So in case like I see that there's a port open which has no security, which can we can inject a particular code, then yes, I can use this module to inject it. So this is all available in Metasploit. Then we have the auxiliary modules, so which allows testers to perform certain extra actions like scanning and then DOS attacks. That is, we can send a number of packages, we can send number of data, and then we can successfully block a particular server by overloading the packages. Then now this is something more of what do you say, a reconnaissance software, that is the post exploitation modules that allows testers to uh, you know do more, if I would say in terms of quality root cause analysis, RCA, on the particular target victim system. That is, we see what are the vulnerabilities, and once we see those vulnerabilities, we have to we can download the particular software required to exploit those vulnerabilities, and this can be done on Metasploit. Now we have something called payload modules also in Metasploit, where we can use more advanced uh, penetration systems, more advanced testing capabilities for these kind of modules to be exploited. And then we have the no operator generator. That is, we have so this is more like uh, like we have a particular packages in a server that can be exploited, and when we use these codes, these will be injected into that server, and finally we can exploit the system. So all of these are tools which I'm showing from Metasploit. And this last point is from also from Metasploit, where we have data stored from a particular server. That is, it could be anything, it could be uh, a database of a repository of inventory of from a warehouse, or anything important data which we have to keep it. So this particular module can be used to exploit that system. So all of this is from Metasploit. Now coming to the next type of attack, which we call a man in the middle attack. So this is a common technique used by a lot of hackers. That is, when they impersonate uh, a target system, and they get the IP addresses, like by spoofing the IP addresses, the victim makes a contact with this particular hacker because of the IP being spoofed. And once the communication is made, the victim will not be actually making contact with the relevant or the real website. They'll be making a contact with the hacker. So that's what a man in the middle attack does. So as we can see, the goal of this attack is to steal personal information such as login credentials, and it can also be used to steal your personal IP addresses, which can be later used to exploit your personal files or your personal login credentials, like uh, things stored in your cache memory or any of that sort. All right, now we're going to see something which is quite used in by a lot of coders and hackers. That is stenography. That is embedding information uh, into a particular file and sharing it with others. So we may think that how is this quite relevant in today's terms, but it actually is. So when you are working in the corporate sector, or when you're working in any institutions, a lot of files are monitored. You cannot just like that pass information from one person to the other. And it's not only in the corporate sector, it's in the educational sector as well, in colleges and things like that. A lot of these data is censored. So that's the reason why stenography is quite relevant today. We have to embed these data into another harmless file, and then we can pass on that file from one person to the other. So the types of stenography that we are looking at is text stenography. That is stenography files stored in hidden, encoded in letters on each word. Then we have image stenography. This is very common. That is, we use a particular secret code and which is stored inside an image. Then we have audio stenography, that is, as the word says, that we store it in our audio file, an MP3 file or something, and then which we can pass around. And then video stenography, which is, storing all secret codes and softwares inside of video. And the last one is the network or protocol stenography. This is, involves concealing data inside a network protocol. And so these are the types of stenography, which we can use to pass on data from one format to the other, or from one network to another without being detected. Now, these are a couple of tools which we can use to, effectively hide data. So some of them are StackHide, StegoSuite, and OpenPuff. However, I would recommend that, not all of them are successful. You'll have to test them one by one before you can, successfully exploit them. Sorry, team. Yeah, now we are looking at the next type of attack, which we call as a denial of service attack, a DOS attack. So this is a very, common attack, and it's very effective. One of the reason of it being effective is that the main intention of this particular type of attack is just to bring down a server. It is just to crash the server. It's not intended to steal software. It is not intended to steal, information or anything. It is just to bring down a particular server by, just sending in unlimited amount of traffic, or by, flooding it with so much of traffic that it's unable to respond, or and it makes it impossible for the legitimate users to respond to it. So this is just a pictorial representation of how it can be executed. Now, looking at a type of a DOS attack, a Smurf attack is, something which was common some years back, and people have said that it's now no longer valid, but it still can be used. So Smurf attack is a process where we get at 1,000 systems or 1,000 people to send a request to one particular target. He could be the victim. So all of a sudden you will be getting requests from, about maybe 1,000 or 2,000 uh, systems, and then your server will be jammed. How it works is by spoofing the victim's IP address, and then trying to establish a connection with, multiple applications, multiple servers. So when they respond, it'll all be responding back to the victim's IP address, and the victim unfortunately will not be aware of it. And then when he gets, or he or she receives requests for, for all these attacks, sorry, all these handshakes, TCP handshakes, his system or her system will be jammed. So this is how a Smurf attack works. This is effective, and yes, it can be executed by a couple of, anybody who has, basic knowledge about TCP requests. Then we have the ping of that attack. So this is a very, effective DOS attack, wherein uh, lots of requests are sent with oversized packets, or, with requests which contain a lot of memory. A simple ping commands may just, take some MB of data or something, but when you use a successful ping of that request, you try to put in more data into it, so that the host system will not be able to handle it. And when you send in requests that is way above the limit that it can handle, then that system would, crash, and that's when, things go very. Mm, yeah, and similar to that is what they call a sin flood attack, which is also, a little same as the one attack which I've seen earlier, except that, we see what type of ports are open, and then they target that particular open ports of that system. And all these attacks are basically DOS attacks. In these DOS attacks, we have to understand that the person who's perpetrating these attacks is not mainly interested in your data. He just wants your servers to crash or not become functional. The intention of this attack is generally to, shut down the system, or to not let the legitimate users have access to those servers. And yes, these are a couple of tools you can use to, execute DOS attacks. DOS attacks can be even done using your, command prompt, but, these tools can help you effectively do a little more, higher you know, mode of execution. But I would say that, please try it on your own servers, on not on any, anybody's tools, because now we have IT laws. Even single request can be taken as an intention to attack. So you have to be very careful when executing these attacks. All right, so this is a very interesting topic we have called DNS poisoning. That is the domain name system poisoning. So this is, we can say that this is similar to a phishing attack, except that, where the domain name system of a target is spoofed, so that when any user comes to, or tries to access that, he is redirected towards the hacker's system. And how this works is when, all by spoofing the IP addresses and the server addresses of the tag of a common web server. For example, like let's say facebook.com, which is very huge. Nobody can actually spoof that, but I'm just giving an example. So when you can, uh, like copy that source code or spoof the IP address of that particular server, and then run your system, whoever is trying to access that, will be redirected towards your system, and they would enter their login credentials and everything, and then you would get access to it. So and one of the tools used for that is, we call a DNS spoofer. But I would say again, please try it on your own systems before trying this on a legitimate website. Excuse me. So this is just a flowchart of how a DNS poisoning system would work. Okay, now coming to the protocols of ethical hacking. So the main things that we have to follow is that, as I told you before, this is mostly based on trust. Ethical hacking is a field where, nobody would really employ an ethical hacker. They employ cybersecurity consultants. So in, if at all they want to employ somebody who has to do this, they need that level of trust. So how we ethical hacking as a profession can be, successfully done is we have to stay legal. Whenever we get a project or we get an assignment that we have to complete, we should make sure that we get all the proper approvals before accessing that. And we should always stay within the terms of the contract. We shouldn't go beyond that. If we have, and we should know how to handle different types of data, because you may come across very sensitive, data, very data which can lead you into jail time. For instance, like there would be instances where you may have to you know view some content which is not recommended, and you in possession of that data, it's going to be very dangerous. So always, stay in touch with the legal people, that is the police, or the proper advocates or anything of that sort, if at all you're pursuing this field. And the most common ways to, to move ahead in this field is to go for things like reporting vulnerabilities. So there are a lot of, open challenges and, open source software, and people give out these kinds of uh, what do you say, competitions or rewards if you're able to report a vulnerability. So you can report it using the right channels. And the last part of this is, as I told you, respect data sensitivity. So whenever you are in, contract to, do something, make sure that the data stays within you, or best at best, leave it with the person who is handling that itself, if you're able to extract it. Now how, an ethical hacker, his uh, workflow works is like, they are mostly hired to see what are the, loopholes in the system. Once you find those loopholes, you'll have to make a data or a list of what are those loopholes and how we can, mitigate them. And once that has been done, you'll have to report it. And there are chances where they you may find something that is really, you may have to report it to the police or anything in that sort. Yes, you can always approach the legal people and say that this is something that, you have found out an anomaly, you can report it. But always make sure that, you're within the legal framework. That is, whenever you're given any contract or any sort of projects, you handle the data and leave it with the person itself, that once this has been done, these are the loopholes you have found out, and these are the vulnerabilities, and these are the ways to mitigate it. And yeah, and most of the time, these are the things that an ethical hacker would find out. That is, he would find out uh, loopholes in the security, misconfigurations, broken authentications, and then sensitive data exposures. All these are the main things that you may find in your field as an ethical hacker. Okay, now what are the skill sets of an ethical hacker? So you see, there are multiple things that comes in this field. You need to be good in networking. You need to be good in coding. Most importantly, need to know how to use which software at what time, which software can be used and implemented at which computer. But most importantly, it's about how well you handle sensitive data and how well you're able to build that trust with your client. Okay, and now in my experience, what how I have come in this field, or what made me move up in this field, is uh, mostly the people whom I dealt with were sole traders. They were now, as e-commerce has been a booming industry, and when you are a part of a team that built up a website, it is not common for the owner of the website to recruit you back to set up the security for that website. And then we have startups who would like you to test your uh, viruses or anything on their particular software, so that they can see that their software is efficient and does not crash when implemented. And then we have private investigators, who may require help to get encrypted data off, or want you to decrypt data, or data which has been lost, or in any sort of computers. And then we have sometimes this is as I told you, victims of cyber abuse. This is something that we need to always you know uh, request them to get legal help. Instead of coming to you, you need to direct them to the police or anything, if at all that has to be done, because a lot of them would like to stay anonymous. They don't want to reveal the identity, and they want to get the problem sorted. So that's when we always try to get legal help for these types of clients. And then we have cyber security firms rewarding for finding loopholes. This is a very very good part. A lot of companies do that. If you're able to report a vulnerability, then you're able to get a reward for it based on that vulnerability. And then the last type of client which you would get is social media influencers. People they want to they have a lot of there's a term for it, what we call today as memes, and uh, I'm not able to get that exact term, but they would like to trace the identity of some people, uh, or followers of theirs, who are spamming them, or who are trying to take advantage of them, so that they can report it, so that those anonymous people do not take advantage of them. So these are the particular clients that, or possible clients, that you may find in this field of ethical hacking. And then of course, we need to get a proper certificate, if we want people to trust you, or to see how well you can execute your claims. So this was one particular certificate which I had done years ago. This was my first certificate which I had done as an ethical hacker, and I've done a couple of other more. So, and the thing about these certificates is that they get obsolete over time. Nobody can say that once you're certified as an ethical hacker, you're going to be your skill set is going to remain the same. The world is changing. Every day there are new viruses, new trojans coming up, and you need to keep be in par with them. So a certificate does not always guarantee you that that you are a good ethical hacker. It's your skill set, it's how you can execute, it's how you are able to deliver. That's what makes a good ethical hacker. Right, team. So yep, we can have the Q&A sessions now. I'm sorry, team. Today I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so I was not able to.
Joshua, first of all, thank you very much. This is Ramesh here.
Yes, Ramesh. Yeah.
Did you speak about ransomware attacks also somewhere? No.
Yes, yes. So yes, so I was talking about ransomware attacks when I was talking about my first project which I did for a sole trader. Yes. So what happened is I was part of a team that initially built that website for this particular businessman, and then later, after some time, I don't after some couple of years, he was a victim of a ransomware attack. Yes, and we had to, what he wanted us was to extract all the important information that he had saved in his repository over the years.
Now, if I ask you, what are that, let's say, because we know, right, we
Mhm.
have the blogs and reports plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Now, especially big, let's say, hospitals
Mm-hmm.
becoming a kind of a victim in India
Mm-hmm.
with ransomware, that where they're failing from your perspective. Whatever we are talking about, a technical, organizational,
Mm.
right, measures already there in place. How is it simply a kind of insider not having a knowledge, creating a problem for the organization?
Okay, yes. So now when we're talking about hospitals, Ramesh, we have to understand the type of data which is there in the hospital. So it is very sensitive information because it contains your personal weaknesses, if I may put it that way. Do not want anybody to know perpetrating this type of attack. He what do you say? He's looking to exploit you individually. So in my experience, I would say it would be in ignorance in certain simple methods, simple things. So the database which is stored in the hospital may not be secure, or they're using an outdated software. You have to understand that data stored in a hospital database is it has a different value than the data stored in in for a e-commerce website, because this thing drops down to individual you know uh, personal information, which can be used to blackmail and get certain things out. So my advice for all the people in the medical industry is to use the updated softwares. Do not use outdated what do you say databases, and also to make sure that when passing on data from to your patients or something, we have to encrypt them. Like how in banks, you see, when a bank is giving you statements, they don't just send it to you, they send it encrypted, they send it with passcodes and things like that. But a lot of hospitals do not use that kind of security systems, I believe. Hello, Ramesh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
sorry. Yeah,
got. Yeah, sure.
sure.
Thank
I
you.
hope I've answered your query. I would
Yeah,
like
yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Manju, please take it forward. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, please?
Sure, sure, sure.
Hi, Joshua. Thank you very much. It is very informative and very useful. I have two questions. Sorry to bother you too. One is about career opportunities. Like, what are the career opportunities as an ethical hacker, or inside India or outside? And the second question is a basic question, like you mentioned about different vulnerabilities, steganography, DNS spoofing, and that. How do we encourage from our home, our children, our brothers and sisters, to getting to understand that and don't use like steganography, a good morning message coming up with pictures or videos and all that through WhatsApp and all that. What is your suggestion on starting a cybersecurity or starting something to protect our data from home, please?
Okay, now to encourage youngsters is, first of all, they need to know the value of data protection, data security. A lot of youngsters, including myself, I was not, I did not get into this field until I was a victim of such set of incident. So we need to tell them that today, our social media platform gives us a lot of exposure, and we need to, educate them about what are the drawbacks of such exposure. Like for instance, we are able to we need to show them that a lot. Just take a simple example: a Facebook friend request of your child or of your cousin, of your niece or nephew, and just try to ask them how many of them do you personally know, and maybe we can try to uh, you know uh, make I would say, this is what I did for to educate one of the youngsters. I made a dummy profile, with a different name, and I happened to befriend one of my close friend's nephew. So this particular person made a good relationship with me. Later, when he found out that that person is not real, he realized that how different his social circle is. Today's youngsters are not able to differentiate the difference between real friends and social media friends. They think it's the same, but what they need to know is that anybody can impersonate. So me personally speaking, over my experience, I've always gone incognito whenever browse. I don't always use my full name. These are the steps that I have learned, because being a victim of certain attacks. So I think youngsters should be educated about the consequences of social media, and then they will take up this field once they know how dangerous it can be, how the when they actually face the challenges of a victim, then they would take this up as a career.
Right. Thank you. Regarding my first question about career opportunities in India and abroad, please.
Okay, career opportunities. So as I've told, you don't really get employed as an ethical hacker. You get employed as a cyber security specialist. You mostly will be working in a team. But as a freelance hacker, career opportunities are good. The most common opportunities would be in these exploiting vulnerabilities. Then the second would be working for, I would say, there are a lot of police organizations and a lot of groups where they employ students to track or decrypt data. So as a solo ethical hacker, these are the two fields which I have successfully gone to. And then the last would be private investigators. So there are a lot of detective agencies around in and around the country, and they would require your skills. So these are the three things where you can successfully come up in as an ethical hacker. But for career opportunities, I would always say a cyber security specialist has more scope than an ethical hacker.
Right. Thank you very much, Joshua.
Welcome.
Any other questions?
Joshua,
Yes.
just wanted to add something on the social media point, a very valid point which you have raised, and I think um, the social media platforms are
Mhm.
quite a bit shaken with the Digital Personal Data Protection Bill,
Mhm.
where parental consent is a mandate for anyone below 18 years.
Mm.
And Navi sir is aware of this. We had a discussion over phone that I have seen that this bill have created some massive um, mm, issues or discussion within the social media giants, and some of them or most of them have requested the government to reduce the legal age for an adult from 18 to 15 years for parental consent. So yeah, I would definitely looking forward how these giants, social media giants, are actually going to comply with the parental consent, and that might be a little bit of relief. But my question for you is, I mean, you have already explained the career opportunity, but what if someone want to learn what are the best possible learnings available in this particular space? I mean, if someone is graduate or someone is working and they just want to learn the basic and start moving on their career, is there anything you would like them to recommend what they can follow?
Okay, Dr. Ghosh, that's a very nice question, because today we have a lot of learning platforms available in LinkedIn. And then, okay, personally, I would suggest that there is a platform called Swayam by the government of India, and
Mhm.
they provide a lot of good courses on ethical hacking and cybersecurity. The thing about these Swayam courses is that it's free. It's just when you have to write the exam, you need to pay. This is something that I would just personally recommend, but there are many places where we can learn. And one misconception about ethical hacking is that we need to do a course in order to be successful in that. We need to do this particular certificate in order to be successful. That is absolutely wrong. For an ethical hacker to be successful, it's always practical. Within anybody can come into this course, and if they are smart enough, they can be very successful. There is no particular course that can guarantee you success. So if somebody were to ask me, how, which is the best course or something, I would just personally recommend Swayam, because there's the materials provided in Swayam is very nice. It's very informative, and it's only when you have to write the exam that you need to pay, I think, about 1,000 rupees, and then you can go to the exam center and get yourself certified. So this is just my personal recommendation, but there are a lot of other courses available. And as I've said, it is your practical skills that makes you successful in this field as an ethical hacker. I hope that
And
answers. Yes, tell me, Dr. Ghosh.
Yes, perfect. And will these courses? I mean, I have seen Swam portal, but I never went into these kind of courses. I was more into cyber and other courses. But yes,
Mhm.
I have seen courses from IIM and reputed institutions are hosting there. Will they give practical platforms or tools to be used? Have you checked it yourself? I
Okay.
mean,
All right. Yes, Dr. Ghosh. This is a very interesting question. This question will come up in all ethical hacking forms, and this is, to be honest, a mandatory disclaimer given by most of the ethical hacking courses that we will not provide you the tools. You'll have to get the tools
wow,
yourself,
okay,
because if I am providing you the tools and teaching you, I am actually teaching you something illegal, if you see what I mean.
got it.
So even in my first course, it was a simple course which I did in AMCAT, and this is like a mandatory disclaimer that they always tell, that we will not give you the tools. You'll have to download the tools yourself, and you'll have to exploit it using your own discretion. So that's a very nice question, Dr. Ghosh. And a lot of people come, signing up for these courses in the hopes that you will be
We'll
given
get the
tools
tool.
and viruses and all.
Yeah.
But it, the person instructing you can be arrested, or he can be in legal trouble if he is doing so. So most of the courses will just tell you where to find those tools, and you will have to use those tools wisely.
Okay, so there is basically some sort of opportunity or might be gap in an educational system when it comes to hands-on or practical of this ethical hacking stuff. I mean, the knowledge is free, but when it
Mhm.
comes to hands-on, it will be on your own, and people might end
Yes.
up doing, messy stuff while doing
Yes.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Do you have any thoughts in future to, implement something for the students or some education? Is there in your plan maybe next 5 years, 10 years down the
Oh,
line?
yes. So I would, in my experience of doing these different courses and all, I would say that, yes, I want to implement something more practical. So when I would be, starting maybe a course or an institute, I would get all the servers ready myself, and I would encourage my students to exploit my own servers. So that way I'm not asking them to do anything illegal. It is within, with my consent, and all the tools will be directed and controlled. So I would say a more controlled environment is what I would be looking at, so that they would learn effectively instead of them researching, instead of them finding out and trying things themselves. And also, one of the things that I would like to change in the certification process is, I think, the question answers on that, because a lot of times